Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I'm actually just sitting on my bed right now. It's about 10 o'clock on a Thursday night, and I don't know why I'm filming this right now, but the urge to film just came over me. So here I am. I'm being a little bit quiet just because the walls are very thin, so I don't want to be keeping up my roommates or whatever. But basically, this week's video is actually just going to be me talking about the different palettes that I brought with me to school. I think I brought 7 of them, 6 of them. And so I'm just going to kind of be talking about like how often I use them, which ones I like the most, that type of thing. So they're all sitting right next to me. I'm just going to pick them up, no particular order, and then I'll just kind of go into detail about them and go from there. So the first one that I picked up is the Too Faced Natural Love palette. This came out, I think, 2 years ago, but I'm not positive. And so when you open it up, it has a really big mirror inside, which you can kind of see. And then this is what the palette looks like. It's very, very pretty, very neutral, which I was really, really excited for. But I'm going to be completely honest, I don't use this one a whole lot. The two things that I use it for the most are these two colors right here, which is Pink Cheeks and Poodle. These are really, really good highlight shades. Poodle especially, I like to use as a highlight shade on the inner corner. So this palette is mostly shimmers and metallics. There are a few matte colors in here, but not enough to really satisfy my liking. And I find that some of the lighter colors, like the color Kitten, which is this purple one right here, along with Moonbeam, they're just not super pigmented. So it's definitely not a bad palette, and I'm still happy that I bought it, but I've not gotten the use out of it necessarily that I imagined I would for what I paid for it, because I think this was around $50. But just to give you an example, I'm just going to swatch a few of the colors. And they definitely do swatch very light. Like these are buildable, definitely, but you kind of have to do that with these. So this one right here, I don't know how much you can see it, is the color Nudie. We have the color Honeymoon, which is down on the bottom row. That one's very, very shimmery. It's kind of like a rose gold-ish color. We have the color Love Bug, which is a shimmery purple. This one actually is quite pigmented, and I do like that color a lot. And then we'll do one more. We'll do Poodle, so you can really see how light that is. So that right there is Poodle, and you can see it's very, very shimmery. And I really, really like that color as an inner corner highlight. I actually get a lot of compliments on that one when I use it. So definitely not an everyday palette for me. If I use it, I mostly just use those two colors that I showed you. But it is a very pretty palette. If you want to see any tutorials with it, comment down below, and I will definitely do one for you. So the next one I have here is the Naked One palette. I actually bought this because I don't think they make it anymore. I actually bought this on Ulta and it was 50% off. Normally it's, I think, $54, and I bought it for $27. So if you don't know what the palette looks like, it looks like that. This is one of the 3 palettes that I keep out on my counter as everyday palettes. And I really like this palette. I think Urban Decay is really, really good. I really like the color Virgin. I use that as a brow bone highlight as opposed to an inner corner highlight. The one thing I'll say about this palette is that it's a little more cool toned than I tend to wear. I've definitely found myself enjoying and looking better in warmer colors. So I definitely have to play around with this one a little bit. But I think the pigment is really good. I think the texture of the shadows is really, really good. Some of them do have fallout, like the color Creep, which is this black shimmery color right here. Here, you can kind of see that better. That one definitely has some fallout. I will put that one sometimes like on the lower lash line, and that'll give me some fallout. But overall, I definitely really like this palette, and if you can still get a hold of it, I think Ulta is doing another 50% off sale on it. I would definitely recommend getting it, not at the full price, but at the half price, because I think it's just a good one to have in the collection, and it's definitely a bit of a throwback palette. So I was very happy to finally get a hold of this. I also just really like the texture of the packaging. I really like the velvet. I don't know. I'm weird. So the next one that I have here is another one, and this is the original Lorac Pro. I've definitely showed you guys this before. This is a very, very well-loved palette. You can see I've hit pan on multiple colors. The color taupe especially, I use the crap out of that one. I've talked about how much I love this palette before. The colors are super duper soft and buttery. The shimmers especially are all very, very pigmented. The two colors nude and champagne, I love using those as eyelid colors. I think they're really, really great. And what I typically do when I use this palette is I go in with cream, and then I go in with taupe, and then mauve. Oh my gosh, I definitely just scratched the crap out of champagne. I go in with mauve, and then sable, and then sometimes I'll add a little bit of espresso. And basically I'll just keep building up the crease until I get the color that I want. So once again, a really, really good palette. I don't know if I'd pay full price for it again. I definitely want to play around with other palettes in the future, but I'm gonna finish this one until it's gone. Like, I really like this palette. The packaging, it's very, very sleek, and it fits in a lot of things, which I think is really, really good. But it definitely does get very dirty very easily. And really quick, let me just show you. I'm gonna swatch nude right here. So that's the one like right on my knuckles. You can kind of see it there. It's very, very soft, and that's just one swatch. So definitely very pigmented. That is the second of the three that I keep on my daily counter. And then the last one, which you guys can probably guess, is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. I don't need to talk about this one. I did a whole separate review on it, but this is the third palette that I keep on my everyday counter. A lot of times I will just rotate back and forth between the Lorac Pro, the Naked, and this one. Today I'm wearing the Jaclyn Hill palette, a very similar look to what you saw me do in the tutorial I made. Yeah, I'm not going to go into detail about this one. If you really want to know what I think about it, just go ahead and watch my review. I will link it down below for you guys. But yeah, so this is another one that I brought with me. And then the last three are my bigger palettes. And then I don't have many palettes at home. These are really like the biggest, most main palettes that I use, which is why I brought them with me. So the next one is actually, I don't want to say a disappointment, because that's not true. It's another Morphe palette. This is the Morphe 39F palette, 35F palette, the Fall into Frost palette. Right? That's 35F, right? Yeah. I just do not get a lot of use out of this one. So this is what the palette looks like if you haven't seen it before. I mean, obviously you can tell it's been used, and I do really like it. It's just, again, it's sometimes like there's a lot of metallics in here, and I tend to go for more mattes now. So I don't tend to use the shimmers a lot. I don't like putting shimmers in my crease. That's just not what I enjoy doing. These are definitely on the warmer side, so I could definitely use this, and I definitely want to start playing around with this again. I like the cranberry shades in here, like this one. It's this one on the third row right here. I'll swatch that. I love, love, love that color. I love me a good cranberry, especially in the fall time. So I do like the colors in here. I just definitely don't use it as much as I use the other palettes that I brought with me. So I am going to start trying to play around with that though. So Morphe 35F. And then another palette you guys have seen many a time, the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. So I did lose the protective covering, but this is what it looks like. Once again, very well loved. I do use this one on a daily basis. If I'm not using one of the three, this is typically the palette that I'll use. I love this palette. I love the colors, and I just love the warmth of this palette. Jaclyn is a huge fan of warm colors, as am I, and so I use this palette a lot. Like a lot. And typically I will just take this entire section here and I'll just build my crease with it. And then sometimes I'll hit the lower colors over here. And it does come with a sheet that has all the actual color names. Of course has her logo on the back. So I hold on to the sheet so I know what I'm using. But obviously I don't have to do that. Again, I kind of talked about this in the other Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette that I reviewed, but the packaging does get really dirty, which is kind of unfortunate about the white packaging, but that doesn't deter me from buying it. So another well-loved palette, and I'm just going to keep using this one because she did an amazing job on it. And the last palette that I've had is Another Morphe palette. If you can't tell, I really like Morphe eyeshadows. This is the Morphe Dare to Create palette. It's the 39A. It was their seasonal holiday palette, I think 2 years ago. I think it's going on the regular line, if it's not already on the regular line. But I did buy it when it was seasonal. It was a Christmas present, I think 2 Christmases ago. So it has a plastic sheet in it that has all of the names. So for example, there's Sunder, Define Me, Deep Hue, and so as long as the words are in like the correct orientation, you just sit it on top of the eyeshadows, and that's how you know what the color name is. But this is what the palette looks like. It's pretty similar to the James Charles Morphe palette. I really want that palette, guys. I really want that palette. It's taking all of my willpower not to buy that palette. I really like that these warm colors in the center here are bigger than the rest of them because these are the colors that I tend to use. But I also really like the blues in this one. The only thing that I'll say is that like these greens tend to be a little bit muddy, which is kind of unfortunate because I like to try and wear greens and purples because they enhance my eye color, but they don't show up like the way I want them to. So I definitely need to try and find some other greens to play around with, but they are very pretty. Same with this purple section in the corner back here. I think the purple section is really cool. So I'll just swatch a few of these. I also really like the red that they have. I think that's really nice looking. So I'll swatch that one actually on my thumb, which will be a little weird, but that's the red. And then I'll swatch the shimmery blue. I think that one's called Cobalt. And that's that one. So overall, a very, very pretty palette. You get a lot of colors for what you pay, and I think it's a really good value. And I would definitely buy it again. So that is all that I have for you guys. Those are the palettes that I brought with me to school. Like I said, I do have a few more at home, but there's a reason I keep them at home. These are the ones that I mainly use and love to play around with. The ones that have a lot of color, like the 39A and the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette I tend to use on the weekends when I have a little bit more time to really play around with colors and looks and different types of stuff like that. So if you want to see any tutorials on a palette specifically, please, please, please let me know in the comments below, and I would love to film one for you. And just letting you know, my Ipsy should be coming soon, so I will hopefully be filming that for you guys. And I've also ordered a new subscription box that I'm really, really excited to tell you guys about because I'm really excited to get the box. So yeah, like I said, that is all that I have for you guys. Let me know if there's anything you want to see. Please leave a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I would really appreciate it. And if you want to know when I upload, which is typically every Saturday, go ahead and hit that notification bell and you'll get notified whenever I upload. Other than that, that's really all I have for you guys. So I can't wait to see you guys again next week. Bye, everybody.